Everyone. So today we are here for the DevOps demonstration. From this demonstration, we will come to know what is DevOps, why we need DevOps, what we will be doing with DevOps, and how a company or an organization in the market can use DevOps. So what are the top concerns that we hear from customers, nowadays? The most common ones are that can we have releases on time, or can we have a stable release? Or if there has been any incidents or any escalations like P1 or P2, can that be resolved within the given service level agreement, I mean the SLA? Or how can we address the problems before the end users gets impacted because of that outage? So no matter whether you are a small scale organization, a tiny startup, or a mid-sized or a Fortune 500 organization, we need to be informed that the IT industry, or I would also like to add that the telecom industry, is adopting DevOps at an amazing pace. Even though majority of the IT professionals either are not aware about DevOps, or they might just have a partial understanding of the big picture. The market standard today is such high, and the competition is very high in the market, where an organization has to keep their product rolling all the time, and that too with high quality. Else the company is out of the market, it will be out of the race. So what is DevOps? Mr. Patrick, who is often also called the father of DevOps, he came up with this idea of DevOps in 2008, 2009. Okay, so DevOps is basically a software methodology which bridges the gap between a development and an operations team so that workflow happens in a smoother way. It focuses on delivery and deploying the software hassle free, on time, and with a quality product delivered at the end for the end user customer. It mainly focuses on removing the area of working in silos, or I would say shadows, and combine both development and operations so that the release happens bug free, on time, and keeping money constraints also in mind. So basically, it's a methodology that combines the development and the operations. We'll see further in our slides how communication, collaboration, integration, and automation helps any organizations or any industry to achieve this methodology. So consider a scenario where there is a group of developers comprising of few people whose ideal role is to work on codes. So they are continuously writing new codes, maybe for integrating their modules, or working on new releases, or making changes in any existing features, or working on any bug fixes, stuffs like that. So it may happen at times that out of those developers who are working it at any current requirement, or for a new requirement, some of the developers are done with their job and few of them are still struggling, or I would rather say they are still working on their modules. So the developers who are done with their modules, they have to wait, and the time increases because they cannot merge their module, they cannot merge their code, because couple of developers are still working with their modules. And once the entire model is done by each and every developer, they can later on merge it to examine or view the end results before it needs to be deployed further in UAT or in production environment. So precisely we can say, or just consider a scenario that the waiting time was done and every developers were done with their modules, and collaboratively it was decided to deploy the existing or the new changes in the existing software, or I would rather say in the production environment. So there was a decision taken, and the new changes, or the bug fix, or the patching, or whatever module these developers were working on, it was agreed, and a mutual understanding, after mutual understanding, a decision was taken to deploy it in existing production environment, and the code, the changes was actually deployed on any decided day in the production environment. But eventually what happened after a couple of days is that it started giving error, and that error reported will obviously go to the same group of developers, and the developer community will keep on working the same, identifying the root cause of the new issues, and this life cycle will keep on rotating, and the poor developer community will still work on those existing or new arising issues all the time. And the new requirements that are going to come in the market, or I would say within the organization's bucket, where the customer wants to have an understanding that how good are these developers, or how technically sound are these developers. They might require some some use cases or some test cases randomly to before signing off a business with any particular organization. But those new requirements will often go in the pending state, because the poor developer is still struggling with his old ideas, his old methodologies, his old approach towards any issues and getting it resolved. He is not at all getting time in resolving all the new requirements that are coming in for the new projects that may come in. Okay, so this is the typical scenario of a developer community. How does it affect the sysadmin or the operations team? So his ideal role is to manage a server, and obviously the count of this server will keep on increasing, and the cost of this server can go beyond 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs in Indian currency, depending on the hardware specifications of this server. Apart from this, the ideal role of a sysadmin is also to manage the uptime, or make sure that the application is having a 99.99% of availability, because he's the one who becomes on call during weekends, weekdays, or during the night time. Apart from that, he also has to make sure that the servers are having proper patches, proper vulnerability fix, and if there is any new application that needs to be deployed by the developer. But there can be scenarios when there is some prerequisite that needs to be upgraded. For example, if somebody has to upgrade Tomcat or an NGINX application version which are running on these particular server. So obviously those are the major prerequisite for such applications, or I would say a web-based application, is Java or its version. So those Java version or modules or libraries or compilers, those needs to be upgraded all the time or most of the time, and that duty will be, or I would say that will come under the bucket of assist admin. He has to take care of upgrading all those softwares before the developer can redeploy the application with higher version on running on these servers. So ideally he can use a shell scripts for doing all those things. Adding a note to that, it's also been observed that sysadmin also becomes the first doctor to start diagnosing any P1 P2 incidents that he gets during his on-call duration or on-call tenure, though he might be not completely aware about the issue that has come up, because he got some standard set of procedures to execute and re-execute and check if the issue just vanishes away. But it may happen that the issue still lies and he's not at all aware whom to contact in that situation. So the first life savior, or the first thumb rule for the developer community, I would say, is continuous integration. So what happens in continuous integration? So instead of working on a software altogether, this software can be broken into smaller chunks or smaller modules. Via that, we can focus on developing a module of our code and design. We can use design, build, test, and even deploy at times, and even verify with the help of QA team at the same time. So rather than waiting for other developers to wait and integrate at the end and know the end results, we check it prior if it's going to be a successful or compatible, and is it going to get a green signal from the QA or the testing team or not. So we can focus on other tasks, obviously, if this methodology is used, and obviously the quality of the code and bug detection time is improved as well. Developers can focus on other tasks, and they are kind of happy all the time that they are learning new things, because using all these newer technologies, newer DevOps technologies, so on and so forth. So how good it is going to be beneficial for the sysadmin? So instead of working on physical servers, which ideally was the case before, the architecture can be redeployed where virtual machines can be brought into picture, or and the infrastructure can be redeployed using virtual machines, thanks to the wonderful technologies of KVM, Zen, and bare metal, where smaller machines are created on these physical servers, where applications are deployed on those virtual machines. We also have got an option of moving to containers or containerized technologies or containerized virtualization, where instead of using virtual machines and physical servers, we'll have a Docker host component or a Docker host where smaller containers are spawned. And containers are in great demand just because of the lightweight capability of these containers. And we might have also seen at times that these containers, it can be packed into a very small image and can be uploaded to any Docker registry, ideally I would say, or a Docker hub repository, where these containers can be again downloaded in production environment, and the same replica needs can be built entirely on the production environment, right? And it won't give any issues or any compatibility issues. It runs very well, and there are no chaos situation or any issues that may arise in future, where if something was working very well in the UAT and lab environment, and all of a sudden we might have seen that it stopped working in production environment. But if we are using containers, that is not the case. Means we'll have a very peaceful way of running everything from, or moving everything from a lab environment to a production environment. Or there can be an ideal situation where I do not want to spend money on virtual machines or containers or physical servers. Maybe it's a new project, it's completely new project, and I would spend like a penny today, maybe, or some sense of, or very small amount of money, where I'll start spawning some instances, or maybe on AWS platform, or a Azure platform, or VMware platform, or maybe any private cloud like Red Hat OpenStack or Mirantes or whatsoever. Obviously, if I'm going to use, and if my infrastructure is going to increase at such a rate, I'll require a very fine configuration management tool, maybe of Chef, Puppet, Ansible, where I can write templates. I can have pre-built templates already present on my server, on my configuration management server. And if any issue arises in future, then I can very easily respawn the entire infrastructure within just few clicks. Monitoring holds a very important place in the life cycle of an ecosystem, I would say, for proper functioning of an ecosystem, I would say. Because the best example is that all the issues that arises, that becomes P1 and P2, most of the time, or I would say like 60% of the time, they are not a P1 and P2 from start. If issues or could be issues are identified at very preliminary step using fine monitoring tools like WhatsApp Gold software, ZenOSS, Zabbix, Nagios, Isinga, it can save the life of, it can save good amount of time for any escalations that becomes P1 or P2, and which can later on impact the end user customers. So monitoring should be a top class and is a must need for any operations that has applications like web based, where scalability, resilience, elasticity, high throughput, low latency is required. So again, coming back to our this slide, development and operations, communication, collaboration, and integration. So communication, whenever there is a change, then using these things or using communication, it can be worked very well and in the right way and in the proper path can be adopted for that. Collaboration. This is required to have coordination in identifying the root cause of a bug. Things that can be solved, identified by opening tickets, talks between a developer team and an operations team, and they can all together work towards getting it resolved at a very early stage, or I would say before they become any incidents and the end user customers are impacted. Integration. A developer knows most of the operations that are being done by the operations team, and an operations guy learns most of the thing from a developer team. So both of them are happy, because a developer is learning few things of a operations guy, and an operations guy is learning so many things from a developer community. And obviously automation, because DevOps mostly and only focuses on using automation at each and every step of their entire life cycle, I would say. We can very well use continuous integration, continuous deployment. There are very fine tools like Jenkins, which is integrated with any version control. And also in operations, we can use playbooks maximum, for deployments, getting integrated with Jenkins, so on and so forth. So main focus of DevOps is on automation itself. No dependency on single person via communication. Obviously, if we are using all the DevOps methodology, then we won't be having dependency on any single person. If he or she is on leave, still, since everybody is aware about whatever module each developer is working on, so there is no dependency. People cannot work in silos, they cannot work in shadows. Tickets, remedies obviously can be opened via collaboration. What it means is that if there has been any incident or any issues, so there is no dependency on a single person. Or if there is, in a very small percentage, I would say, or at times, then if that particular gentleman is not present in office, or maybe if is not reachable via any means, then if we are using a very very fine ticketing tool, and if somebody opens a ticket with a severity level of maybe P2 or P1, then that particular team who owns that bucket of ticket, he or she needs to respond on that person's behalf, stating that they are having a look within the given SLA, rather than actually solving it, but they have to respond it. So tickets, remedies can be opened via collaboration, sync between developers and operations, so that innovative ideas can be brought via integration. Obviously, if we are using all the above things that we just discussed about, if there is a good sync, good communication between the development and the operations team, there can be so many innovative ideas, and so many feathers can be, worn or brought up in the cap of the developer and the operations community, or the operations team, I would say. These are some of the very fine tools that work flawlessly and are responsible for, uh, 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 adopting the DevOps methodology for any operations team, or any infrastructure team, or any project, I would rather say. By implementing our DevOps approach, you will experience some of the key benefits: stay ahead of the game, faster time to market, increase in productivity, automation domination, faster recovery, time is money, faster deployments, reduction in cycle time, key to success, and key to obviously to your personal success. Most of the job requirements nowadays is for the DevOps professionals. Most of the good the most of the percentage of jobs are for the DevOps professional. Obviously, this data has been, it's been a bit old, but I'm sure that the numbers that you're seeing in this particular slide has obviously increased. The pay scale has taken a very the pay scale has inclined a lot, and obviously this is again an outdated data, which I'm sure of. These are some of the organizations like Amazon, Atlassian, Flickr, Flipkart, Facebook, who have adopted DevOps very well, and everybody is aware of what position they currently hold in today's IT industry. How will this course help you? Obviously, it will enhance your knowledge and understanding of DevOps, design, work, and automate in DevOps, be an asset to your organization, to your company, and achieve your goal by becoming a perfect DevOps engineer. Why us? Why 3RI? So what I think is that, although if you are aware of all the hot technologies, all the latest tools you might be using in your current organization or in your current project, but if your CV is lacking all those things, people won't get calls for interviews. That is a showstopper, basically, I would say. So normally at 3RI, I give, or I dedicatedly have a 3 hours class for CV preparation during the time when the class is about to get completed. So CV preparation guidance for fresher and experience. This is a must that is being given by me in 3RI Technologies. Apart from this, the way that the approach that we have for this particular DevOps session is that the duration for this DevOps session is of 2 months, comprising of 8 weeks ideally. And normally we start with AWS, because we use AWS cloud platform to do all those installation of containers, Docker, running CI/CD pipeline, installation of Jenkins from scratch, integration of Git with Jenkins. We'll get used to creation of, accounts on GitHub, accounts on AWS, Amazon, and we'll practice some of the real industry based test cases, real cases, actually cases that I have worked on in my last 11 years of experience. and we'll get good hands-on expertise on Terraform. Obviously, we are using Terraform to write templates. We'll learn how to write Ansible playbooks from scratch, and yeah, this is going to be your path for, or this is going to be the things that we'll be practicing, or I would say preaching, in this 2 months of duration. We'll focus a lot on Linux, because Linux is one of the important thing that is required to become a successful DevOps engineer. And we'll focus on shell scripting. We'll have an idea about Chef and Puppet. Kubernetes, yes, that is in boom, that is required, and that is something that will keep us alive for next 4 to 5 years in the industry. So we go through Kubernetes, we learn Kubernetes, we create a 3 node cluster, including one master and two worker. We do scale in, scale out of containers on demand. We learn about deployments, help, so on and so forth. So yeah, this is going to be your path for, or I would say the order in which we'll be covering this entire syllabus of DevOps. So I think that was it, and thank you very much for this. And I'll just mention my number after this demonstration. You can reach out to me further for any queries or any issues. Thank you so much, and have a good day ahead.